consultation response, they have included an assessment with regards to biodiversity net gain, which includes that base level as the existing context in order to calculate the off-site contributions required.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I guess it just doesn't help residents not to think that the applications will be been approved. They see the demolition take place and the cutting of things down. They think, oh, well, it must be all okay to go. And it just, yeah, visibly, it just doesn't look that great. And then also, actually, on the part of the application, it says you're gonna do a meadow area. I mean, will that be sort of protected from future development, or can you protect it from any future development and ask the developer to maintain that area and replant anything like trees, plants that die?
So I think we need to clarify, Councillor Buckman, that because this says a recommendation to refuse, conditions obviously haven't been applied. If anybody is wanting to propose something different, then I think work has to be done, first of all, to work up those reasons and what they would be and whether they fit with our local plan. And then we would be able to talk about whether there would be conditions. But otherwise, obviously, there wouldn't be. Councillor Stockley.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, I'd like to thank Christian for his report. In the past, I've struggled with the balance of presumption, as we all know. But I thought this is laid out very clearly in the report. I agree with the offerer's recommendation. Following on from the May Street question, that, as I understand it, was originally considered to be outside the curtilage of the Herne Bay area. But when it went to inspector, the inspector considered that it wasn't. Therefore, we are left with very little reason to refuse that, even though we may not like where it's sited. But that's where we are. So try not to get the two confused. They are separate and different. But no, I do think that this is, on balance, the correct report, and I will be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Paul Prentice, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I think we've come across a similar type of application in a not too distant past in this committee. And I do remember an application in my ward on Stodmarsh Road. And while we're not talking about that application tonight, obviously, I think my issue with this particular application is I do agree with the officer. I do agree with the officer's report on this. I think in an ideal world, there would be the sorts of facilities and services in this settlement that would make it more connected to Whitstable and so on. Unfortunately, I think it would be very difficult to impose the sorts of conditions we would want to see, such as a regular functioning bus service, such as a supermarket or other retail facilities that would make it a much more sustainable option. And I think the report is correct, and so I don't think I'd be able to support this application. And that's not a reflection on, I'm sure, the quality of other aspects of it, because from what I can see, the buildings as proposed look fine. They look to be of a good standard. I don't have any other sort of specific issues with what's planned for the site, but I think it's where it's at. And I think on that reason, I am minded to support the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to contribute? Well, in that case, we move to a vote, and a vote in favour is a vote to refuse this application. John, could you run the voting, please? Thank you.
Okay, that's carried. 11 votes for, 1 against.
Thank you very much, everybody. The live stream is now working, so just bear in mind what I said at the beginning. Okay. You know, if you're concerned about it, do check with Andrea down here where you might want to sit. But it's very unlikely, actually, that most people will be seen. It's just we need to warn you. Fine. So let's move on. We move on to application number CA 24-02121, land north of Tomé Cottages, south of Bogshole Lane, May Street. Can I ask the planning officer, Christian de Grusa, to introduce the report? On this particular application, we don't have speakers following, so thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Before I begin, it's worth noting that an objection received from a neighbour has since been rescinded, and unlike what's included in the report, the applicants are Mr. and Mrs. Spratt, and the agent is Rebus Planning Solutions. So, this application is for a detached dwelling located along May Street in Herne Bay, and here we have a site photo showing the proposed access. So, although rural in context, the character of the area is evolving, given the number of dwellings which have been recently approved in the vicinity. So this is illustrated on the block plan as shown. And as members will recall, the one adjacent to Hawthorne Cottage, if I can get my cursor, just roughly here, this was presented to committee in December. And just for context as well, the application site is just here to the left of the blue line. Here we have a proposed block plan. So the proposed dwelling will continue to follow the more sporadic pattern of residential development which characterises the area. And here we have the proposed elevation drawings. So although outside of the Herne Bay urban area, similar to those previous schemes, given its close proximity to this settlement, the proposal is considered to represent an acceptable departure from the local plan. And for this reason, the officer recommendation is to approve, subject to safeguarding conditions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So from the chair, I will propose that we accept the officer's recommendation, which is section 101 grant, subject to legal agreement and safeguarding conditions. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Mellish, thank you. I open this up for discussion and debate, colleagues. So who would like to chip in first? No comments. I'll move straight to the vote then. So we can move straight to the vote. A vote, John, if you can run the vote. Thank you. A vote for is a vote to section 101 grant.
Okay, that's carried. 11 votes for, 1 against.
Thank you very much. So we now need to move on to application number CA 24-01-860, 5 Wells Avenue, Canterbury. Can I ask the planning officer, Emily Rule, to introduce her report? And we have several speakers following this report. And Councillor Buckman is going to leave for this because he isn't sure about his determination over this particular aspect. Thank you. Emily, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. This application is for first floor extensions to the north east and southwest side elevations of 5 Wells Avenue in Canterbury. The application site is located to the northwest of Wells Avenue in a cul-de-sac indicated by an arrow on this photo. The street scene comprises detached dwellings with semi-detached garages and driveways. Existing first floor extensions are present in the street scene at numbers 9 and 13 Wells Avenue. There are various size spaces between dwellings on Wells Avenue, with the gaps between numbers 7 and 9, 9 and 11, and 13 and 15 similar in size or smaller than the gap between number 3 and the application property number 5, as shown by the red arrows. The application site is shown by the red outline on this plan and in this photo. The proposed extensions would be positioned above existing single-storey elements to the north, east and southwest of the dwelling and would not extend beyond the existing footprint. The extensions would be set down from the ridge and back from the principal elevation, which, together with their hipped roof design, would soften their impact on the street scene and alleviate any massing to the front. The northeast side extension would not enclose or reduce the separation distance between the application property and number 7 due to its position above an existing single-storey element and the intervening development of the garage and driveway at number 7. The first floor window in this extension would not overlook any private amenity space, and the pitch of the extension's roof away from number 7 would not give rise to an acceptable level of overbearing or overshadowing on balance. The southwest side extension would be up to the boundary with number 3, so the impact on this neighbour has been looked at carefully. The setback position of the first floor extension to the southwest elevation, shown by the red arrow, would retain a sense of space between the houses. No windows are proposed to the side or rear elevations of the southwest extension, so there would be no unacceptable overlooking or loss of privacy. The first floor southwest extension would only extend approximately 2.2 metres beyond the rear elevation of number 3, as shown by the red arrow. The rear elevation would also meet the 45-degree rule in plan, so it would not create a loss of impact or light. Not create a loss of light or impact outlook. For the reasons mentioned in this presentation and within the report, it is recommended that the application be granted subject to safeguarding conditions.
Thank you very much. So we have 5 speakers, and the first one is Connor Smith. Would you like to come forward? As with all the other speakers, you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
My name is Connor Smith. I'm the Chartered Architect appointed for the proposed extension at 5 Wells Avenue. I'd like to take a few moments to highlight the core design considerations, address concerns raised by neighbours and reinforce the planning merits of the proposal as outlined in the justification submitted by your case officer, Miss Emily Rule, who has put forward a recommendation for approval. First, in design character, we've made sure the design matches the character of the street, as noted in our submission. Number 9 Wells Avenue, directly next door, was granted planning permission in 2019 for a garage conversion and a first floor extension of similar width. Likewise, number 2 has extended frontage of 21 metres, and number 13 features a first floor extension over the garage. These demonstrate that the proposed extension at number 5 sits comfortably within the context of the street scene and is not introducing a new form. It follows the style and scale already seen in the neighbourhood. From a massing perspective, the proposal has been designed with deliberate care and ensure it does not dominate or overwhelm. The structure is confined with the site boundaries, and we've used setbacks and articulation to break up the visual bulk, avoiding any flat or monolithic appearance. The scale remains proportionate, and the form echoes neighbouring properties, maintaining the street scene. Therefore, it won't appear flat or overbearing from the street. Regarding amenity impact, we've engaged seriously with neighbourhood feedback. The extension towards number 3 was reduced to ensure full compliance with the 45-degree daylight rule. There are no side windows, preserving privacy and avoiding overlooking. We've taken care to protect their privacy and light. In relation to number 7, I want to clarify that the distance from the proposed first floor flank wall is stepped in from the existing flank wall, and it exceeds more than adequate distance and a generous separation. There are no principal habitable windows facing number 7, only an obscure glazed WC window. And due to the property's orientation, there will be no impact on sunlight or overshadowing. I'd like to affirm that the design presents no harm to residential amenity. There is no breach of separation distances, no overlooking, no loss of light, and no obstruction to outlook. The property maintains an existing privacy and amenity standards, and in many cases exceeds them. The proposal follows the key parts of the National Planning Policy Framework, especially paragraphs 124 and 130. These state that development should be well designed, fit the local area, and create good places to live. That's what we've done here, a practical, well-designed extension that respects the street and supports a growing family, as my client will highlight afterwards. We ask the committee to support the planning officer's recommendation for approval. Just in time.
Thank you very much. Can I invite Kathleen Westcott to come forward to speak, please? What's happening?
Can I ask, are the photographs available? Okay, thank you. Okay. I live at number 3 Wells Avenue. Wells Avenue is on an estate that was built in the 80s. The houses were built to make the cul-de-sac in Wells Avenue aesthetically pleasing. Number 5 has already been extensively extended on the ground floor. On the side bordering number 3, the extension is approximately 4 metres beyond the original footprint of the house. Number 9 and number 13 have both had first floor extensions, but both are in keeping with the original footprint of the house. This would not be the case with the first floor extension to number 5. I disagree with the comment in your assessment, as the walk-in wardrobe, which is to be built on part of the flat roof of the ground floor extension, will extend to approximately 3 metres beyond the original footprint of the house. This part of the extension would reduce both light and sunlight to my property. You state that it would meet the 45-degree rule in the plan, but the photographs show how it impacts my outlook. The extension is up to the boundary of my property. The sideway between number 3 and number 5 measures just 0.9 metres. As shown on the photographs, this will make my sideway tunnel-like. The narrowness will make maintenance to either roof very difficult. Also, as seen in the photographs, the ducting and cable for the air conditioning at number 5 already overhang my boundary. This is an eyesore and was done without any consultation or permission from me. It was recently brought to my attention by a builder that I should check whether the cable was an armoured cable to comply with electrical regulations outdoors. If not, it is dangerous. When the ground floor extension was built, there was scaffolding in my sideway for several weeks. Access to my garden was limited and I could not secure the gate. Both my daughter and her husband are registered disabled. When they visit, they have 2 assistant dogs, so it is important that my garden is secure. I ask that the planning committee reject this proposal as it will make us materially disadvantaged. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we now move to our next speaker, which is Barry Dilnot, please? Can I just check, everybody saw those photographs all right? Yeah. Thank you very much. Carry on, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I live at number 7, so I'm an immediate neighbour of number 5. I want to highlight the very unusual of orientation of number 7 with respect to number 5, and also comment on the scale of the proposals. The unusual orientation at the end of the close is that the front of number 7 directly faces the side of number 5, as you can see in the photograph, which is taken from the front of the property. The properties in the close are all well designed with an open outlook, and that attracted us to the property. The original gap of just over 13 metres between the front of number 7 and the side of number 5 retained the open outlook and avoided number 7 being boxed into the corner of the close. The existing ground floor extension has reduced that gap to just under 10 metres, but the hedge between the 2 properties does provide some screening, again, as per the photograph. I am concerned that this hedge could disappear. The new proposals are beyond the original footprint and would significantly impact the outlook from number 7. I'm aware of the 45 and 25-degree guidance to determine overshadowing, but because of the unusual orientation I believe there should be more onerous restrictions in this case. I'm disappointed that the report on the proposals neither explicitly mentions the orientation nor why it is now acceptable to build a two-storey extension directly in front of number 7. Number 5 has already been extensively developed on the ground floor, and as an aside, the garage conversion was granted on the basis of dry storage and gym craft space, but the latest plans show a study, ! A further floor on both sides of the building would result in a large property on a very modest plot. The extension in front of number 5 would not be within the original footprint. I think the overbearing property would dominate the end of the close, and I would believe would constitute overdevelopment. So I asked 2 things of the committee. One, the first floor extension immediately in front of number 7 should not be agreed, as it will box number 7 in the corner of the close in a way that the original layout of the plots, by leaving that gap, was specifically designed to avoid. The second thing I would ask is that the hedge must be retained for screening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Marion Bell, and she's speaking from the Oaten Hill and South Canterbury Association perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. I represent the Oaten Hill and South Canterbury Association because one of the aims of the association is to support and improve the quality of life of residents and the community. The quality of life for the residents at number 3 and number 7 Wells Avenue will be seriously impacted by these proposed first floor side extensions at number 5, as their houses and gardens will be overshadowed at close proximity by high walls blocking out light and views. The original layout of the cul-de-sac in 1981 ensured each property had maximum natural light and clear views into this section of the road. It is a short cul-de-sac of just 9 houses, and the proposed first floor enlargement of this property, which was substantially extended beyond its original footprint some 8 years ago, will create a dwelling which is totally out of character with surrounding plots. There are other streets in South Canterbury, in our association, Ethelbert Road, South Canterbury Road, where houses are spaced apart on large plots, and an extension of this size would have minimal impact. But in this small cul-de-sac, the proposed enlarged house would place number 3 and number 7 at a material disadvantage and have a detrimental effect on the whole environment. The Oaten Hill and South Canterbury Association fully support Mrs Westcott and Mr Dilnott in their appeal. And on behalf of the association, I would ask this committee, please, to consider the issues raised by them, appreciate the oppressive impact these overbearing first floor side extensions will have on their quality of life, and reject this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And our final speaker is the applicant, Dr. Kazim Mahmood. Could you come forward, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I would like to note some points here. I'm unsure why this application has been called as a simple domestic first floor extension, but I may be naive. It has been called in by one of our respected councillor, Connie Nolan, who happens to be my neighbour, an immediate neighbour. So I may sense is a potential conflict of interest here, which needs to be noted. Next point is I would like to support my application as it fully compliant with the planning policy and guidelines, and it also fulfills the need of a growing family. We're a family of 6 with 4 young children which are growing, and we would like to utilize our airspace in a maximum possible way, in a smarter way, where we're building a first floor extension or planning to build first floor extension on already existing ground floor. without adversely affecting anybody's light or the neighborhood, as alluded by my design architect. My application is also very well aligned with the National Planning Policy Framework document. I would like to highlight few of the points here. The NPPF documents, sorry, I didn't bring my glasses. Routine says, the NPPF document, various paragraphs supports this application itself. For example, paragraph 125 says the local planning application must determine applications on planning grounds only. 124, planning policies and decisions should promote an effective use of land in the need of housing. Paragraph 125, planning policies and decisions should promote and support the development of underutilized land and buildings, especially if it meets the housing need. Paragraph 125E says planning policies and decisions should support opportunities to use the airspace above existing residential and commercial premises. In particular, they should allow approval for first floor extensions, including mansard roofs. So based on these NPPF document guidelines, I would appreciate if the committee consider the application for approval in the light of planning officer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So with the proviso I said at the beginning that we must all approach this with an open mind, I would like to still put the proposal of the officer's recommendation to the committee if I have a seconder, so that we have a proposal to debate and we can obviously all come to our views as we discuss it. So it's grant subject to safeguarding conditions. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Auld, thank you very much. So we're now going to debate this proposal. And do I have first speakers? Councillor Stockley.
Thank you, Chair. While I'm sure we can all understand the neighbours' feelings about this development, to be honest, I haven't yet heard a planning reason not to grant. Thank you.
Sorry. Councillor Smith, do you want to speak? Yeah, I thought you were. I couldn't quite tell.
Sorry, yeah, waving a pen.
Waving a pen. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Please.
Yeah.
Do.
No, thank you. I mean, I agree with what Councillor Stockley's just said, but I think one of the speakers mentioned about the hedge, and I think that's something which perhaps we can do something about, and I would welcome suggestions on that. So, if from a planning point of view, yeah.
I'm just going to take a minute to discuss this because I would like to also. Councillor Stockley, did you want to comment on it?
Yes, I did, Chair. We have tried this and we were categorically assured that we could not put a planning matter about a hedge. You know, it's way beyond our remit. We can't control what people do in the gardens. We tried this in Herne Bay and failed miserably. Thank you.
Take this moment. because the hedge is not part of the application, we're not in a position, exactly as Councillor Stockley said, to do that. However, we could put an informative, and we could ask whether the applicant would leave the hedge there, because we can all see, I can see the same thing. If you're looking at a hedge, it's very different from looking at a double-storey wall. At the moment, it's only one story, it will be two, and if the hedge was there, it softens it a lot. So I think we could put an informative. That's where we've reached. In the interests of good neighbourliness. So we will do that. That will be the wording. In the interests of good neighbourliness, we believe the committee would like to encourage the applicant to retain the hedge. That's more or less the wording. Can we move on to discuss other aspects of this? Other people like to? Councillor Thomas.
It's a difficult one, this one, because they're all difficult, but I don't know whether we've got any grounds on overbearing and overdevelopment, because you're almost doubling the size of the property as you look at it. As at the moment, it's because it's all ground floor extensions, it softens the outlook. And it's like everything, once it's built, it's very difficult to unsee what's done, if that makes any sense. But I'm assuming if there was any of that, we wouldn't be approving grant at the moment. But it does look to me a bit overdeveloped and overbearing. So I'm kind of on the fence on this, but I'm assuming if it went to appeal, the inspectorate would be looking at it in favour of this development. So I haven't got strong enough planning reasons to refuse, although I'm not comfortable to actually grant permission on this one. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Prentice.
Thank you, Chair. I think my issue is not with the quality of the design of the architecture. I think I'm less concerned about the southwest corner of the development as proposed. I'm more concerned about the northeast corner, which seems to be the most contentious side. We generally don't look down the sides of our houses, but we do expect to see some, as others have said, we do expect to see some softening of, in an area like this, and I am familiar with the area, being a Barton councillor, we do expect to see some sort of mitigation put in place. So I do support the idea of an informative being in place here. Obviously, a hedge, how tall can you grow a hedge is another matter. Depends what sort of hedge it is, I suppose. I'm not an expert on hedges. We have come across issues like this before with regards to how far an extension sort of protrudes out, and we have in the end, sort of come back to what planning law says. And so I would agree there isn't a strong enough planning reason, and I must emphasise there isn't a strong enough planning reason to refuse this. I would just like to see as much mitigation as possible, because that is ultimately what we have to adhere to. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? I think everybody's mindful of the representations that we've had, but as everybody understands here, that we do have to have sound planning reasons to reject an application, and so far we haven't heard any. If there are any other comments first? No. Then we will move to a vote on this. And a vote in favour is a vote to grant, subject to safeguarding conditions. John, could you run the vote, please?
Excuse me, Chair. Could I just clarify that the informative is included in that, just to make sure you...
Yes, I should have added that. Along the lines of the wording that I said, and we'll take it from the recording, and I know we may not have written every word down, but it'll all be on the recording so we can get the wording as I described it. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for reminding me.
Okay, that's carried. 9 votes yes and 2 abstains.
It's fine. We'll wait for you to leave. It's fine. That's fine. Thank you. Okay. No, we didn't accept that. So we're now moving on to application number CA24 02301, Little Acre, Highstead, Chislett. And I'm going to ask the planning officer, Ashley Kynes, to introduce the report. And we have 4 speakers after the report has been introduced. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. This application relates to Little Acre in Highstead in Chislett. The proposal is for a 2-storey front and side extension and a single-storey rear extension. The application is called to the committee by Councillor Carnack on the grounds of the impact of the proposal on the character and appearance of the conservation area. So for some context, you can see the application site here, and you can also notice the distance that it's set back from both roads running to the northwest and to the east. And again, just for more context, this is the existing front elevation. And this is from the rear looking towards the front. And again, looking to the back of where the single-storey rear extension will be. And here are the proposals. So at the top of each one, we have the existing, so the existing front elevation here. And then below the proposed, and I don't know if you can just see, but where my cursor is, this red dash line is the outline of the existing. So just running along there. And again, at the bottom, the existing and proposed rear elevations. And again, the existing side elevations and proposed. And there's a 3D image of, you can see the front elevations here, and then down to the right, you can see the single-storey rear extension and how that sits. And so this is the proposed block plan, showing it in context with the other neighbouring properties, with April Cottage to the north and Farms, sorry, I forgot and there's a property here to the west. The proposed extensions are considered acceptable in terms of mass and scale, given the overall size of the plot. Finished under pitched roof designs and in timber cladding and render, the proposal is considered to preserve the character and appearance of the conservation area, given the varied material palette of the surrounding street scene. The 2-storey side extension is positioned to the southeast of the site, away from neighbouring properties. The first floor extension represents an increase in height of approximately 1.4 metres and will be contained within the existing footprint. And so given the orientation of the plots and the separation distance between the neighbouring properties, it is considered that no unacceptable impacts would occur. This is just to show from Bordengate Hill to the east. This is just the view of the property here, showing the level of the extent that it's set back. And again, from Bordengate Hill, just a bit further up. And then from the other road, Highgate Road, this is the neighbouring property, and then the application site is just beyond that. And that's the level of visibility there. So therefore, in line with the officer's report, the application is recommended for approval, subject to safeguarding conditions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's move to our speakers. Lynn Nutley is the first on our list, I believe. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, thank you. I'm a resident of Highstead. I live in April Cottage, which is to the north of this proposal. I was advised I had to talk about this proposal with an eye to the NPPF. Very difficult for a layperson to do, but I have determined. Highstead is within a conservation area, and the LPA designates these areas. They possess special architectural or historical interest, unique features, and are deemed significant. The NPPF requires you to manage these areas, giving special attention to preservation of the area's character, potentially requiring modification to proposals to avoid harm. Working in a conservation area as a builder is especially restricted when looking at the outside of the building and the trees. The original building at Little Acre was a 2-up, 2-down cottage. That has been extended significantly, I understand, without any planning consent, to the building that is in situ today. The proposal before this committee seeks to massively increase Little Acre again, resulting in what we consider to be an enormous overdevelopment. Our local councillor has raised objections on our behalf. The parish council have asked you to listen to the residents' concerns. The local plan states that no new isolated development, and this is not an extension, please understand, it is a development. It is effectively a knockdown rebuild from the inside out, should be allowed. Paragraph 210 of the NPPF states that the applicant's heritage statement must be sufficient for you to understand the potential impact of the proposal, and your responsibility is to consider the impact, avoid or minimise any conflict between the conservation area and any aspect of the proposal, ensuring that the proposal will make a positive contribution to local character and distinctiveness. The submitted heritage statement for the development states that this building can only be seen from within the boundaries of the property itself. You've already seen that isn't true. This is an entirely dishonest statement. The photographs submitted by the applicant are deliberately misleading, taken from ground level, bottom of a hill, behind a tree-lined vantage point, in full summer leaf. Little Acre can be seen from every direction from the surrounding roads and fields. I wish I'd brought some photographs. The size of the proposed building, the height, the materials suggested are all at odds with conserving our hamlet. This modern building will be extraordinarily out of keeping and even more visible from every direction, nearly 2 metres higher, remember that. There is no positive contribution to local character. The NPPF requires you to prevent works that will damage and harm the look of our area. In essence, the NPPF recognises a conservation area as an important asset that can contribute to the character and identity of a place and provides a framework for you to protect and enhance that significance through careful planning management. In paragraph 214, it states that where a development will lead to substantial harm, the LPA should refuse consent. We have come here today to ensure that you do understand how inappropriate these proposals will be for any house in Highstead, and we hope and expect you to do exactly what the NPPF asks of you, to protect and enhance our hamlet through careful planning management.
Could you wind
Thank
up,
you.
please? Thank you. Can we move on to Carolyn Parry is our next speaker. Please come forward. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Carolyn Parry. I live at Walnut Tree Farm, which is the closest property to Little Acre. If you don't know Highstead, you'd be forgiven for not even knowing it was there. You drive through just a few scattered houses. A spice kitchen is proposed. The definition of a spice kitchen is a secondary kitchen for which the primary purpose is to isolate strong cooking odours by containing these odours and preventing them from permeating into the rest of your home during cooking. By removing them, by strong ventilation. A noisy extractor fan from this spice kitchen will carry the smell directly into our courtyard garden where there are doors and windows. The wall of this spice kitchen will be erected on the boundary of our home. This 10 feet high wall will replace where we are only permitted to erect a 6-foot fence. Why? Its metre deep footings will be dug less than 2 metres away from the trunk of our last remaining walnut tree, which is sited in this small courtyard garden in a conservation area. This will almost certainly kill the tree, which is almost 100 years old, with a life expectancy of between 200 and 300 years. The unique fact about walnut trees is that their roots spread 2.5 times beyond their canopy. This tree, which you saw in the picture, actually touches both Little Acre and our home. No one can predict the damage that the heave will cause when this tree dies. Please understand, we the residents of Highstead are not NIMBYs, but we are incredulous as to how willfully and shamefully misleading this application is and have sought to bring this to your attention. I cannot imagine why you would grant this application with the information we have presented to you. But I do understand that possibly with the conflicting information before you, the only way that you will be able to make a fair, responsible and informed decision is to visit the site. I therefore formally request a site visit, which the Canterbury City Council Tree Officer also attends. Furthermore, due to the possible consequences of this application being approved, I request the vote is recorded, which I now understand is. Lynn and I had collaborated. We represent the other people sitting with us and the residents of Highstead, but we didn't want to waste your time by all of us and coming speaking. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And our next speaker is Councillor Rachel Carnac, Ward Councillor. Thank you. Rachel.
Okay. Good evening, Chair and members. I'm here, as you know, to discuss the Little Acre application in Highstead. In the draft local plan, Boydengate Hill in Highstead is deemed to be a rural settlement classified as a village or hamlet that has either no services or very limited services and is generally considered to be an unsustainable location for new housing development. This area is therefore defined as countryside, where priority will be given to protecting the rural character of the district. Policy DS4 has some exemptions for rural housing, but they are limited and strict. However, it strikes me that we are seeing development by stealth across the district, where houses are being bought and then extended dramatically to build an almost entirely new house that would not be permitted under the local plan if it was a greenfield application, as it would change the identity of the hamlet. While we largely permit extensions in the countryside, I would ask the committee to consider the impact that large and out-of-character development has on small hamlets like Highstead. I know that in the officer report they specify that the extension is within the footprint of the existing house at Little Acre, but I can say that from having visited April Cottage, the increase in roof height will be imposing and will make a difference to the way Mr. and Mrs. Nutley live in their home and enjoy their garden. It will be visible in the conservation area. It will have an impact on Mr. and Mrs. Parry at Walnut Tree Farm and other neighbours, as you've heard and as you've seen in the photographs. The new exterior buildings will be imposing. I doubt that they would be elsewhere in the district, but in Boydengate, which is a very small settlement of a couple of handfuls of houses, it will make a difference. The local plan requires developments to have sufficient regard for the context and character of the site, and to reflect the character and appearance of the local area. You will note from the plan on page 44 that with the exception of Walnut Tree Farm, all the other houses are cottages, originally farming cottages. The dwelling would be very visible within the conservation area. The design with a glazed balustrade and use of timber cladding will not be in keeping with the other cottages or in keeping with the conservation area. I think as a council we need to be clear that in those rural areas where our priority is given to protecting the rural character, that we do not via the back door allow increasingly out-of-scale extensions because, let's face it, that's the only way to build a large property in our countryside, by buying a cottage and expanding it. That otherwise this will result in changing the whole identity of a hamlet such as Boyden Gate. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I should open this up for committee discussion. Oh, sorry. Oh, I got one of the speakers. Very sorry, I apologise. We've got Martin Ball, the agent. Please come forward. Apologies.
Good evening. Right, the Little Acre site, we were asked to design to modify the inside of the building mainly. The building itself has been extended, I think, probably in the 60s or something, and it's a flat roof type, very large footprint building, which is totally out of keeping with the area. What we've looked to do is lower the roof, the eaves height of the building, so that we can put a proper roof on it, which is more in keeping with the surrounding properties and the area in general. The only increase we've got on height is about 1.4 metres. We've brought the eaves height down on the roof so that the first floor windows are halfway down across the eaves height, which is more in keeping with the cottages around. It's already a very large building, which is not been extended well, and it's all over the place basically, and it needs renovating on the inside. The extensions we're doing are very modest in the scale of the building. We've got a double story on the southeast elevation, and a little tiny single story to the rear. The single story to the rear is only 2.4 high at the eaves height, which is on the boundary of Walnut Farm. I know there's concerns about the tree. I do structural work as well, and there's no way I want to harm a tree. The idea being of building there, we can build, I mean, I'll look at the way to do it if it's approved, but we'd either build with mini piles and a raft, or if necessary, put a pad foundation steeled across, so there'll be no downward pressure from that single story extension on the ground. So there'll be no impact on that tree whatsoever. The single story is only fairly low anyway. It's under the canopy of the tree. So I don't see that there's any harm to the tree there. We did call that room a spice kitchen because basically they want a kitchen and storage area. We've got a utility room down on the south side, and we've also got a pantry down there. Which way round they go, that will probably end up a cupboard. There's no way, there's not going to have large extraction or anything like that, and smells and all that sort of thing. So I think the overall height of the building, we've tried to keep it down, to keep everything more in keeping. So I recommend that you approve this application. Thank you.
Thank you, and sorry for moving on and having to go back. I think we should open this for discussion. We've had a number of suggestions and complex issues raised, and we've had a request to think about a site visit, and it sounds very complicated, this case, doesn't it? So could I have some general views, please, first? Councillor Stockley.
I personally think that a site visit would be a very good idea, and I would like to formally request one if I have a seconder. Thank you. We have a seconder.
I had a feeling that's where we would be going.
Yeah.
I think it is, you can look at the site, you can look at, we've just looked at, looked at a view on the computer as we've been talking, and obviously we've all looked at the drawings as well, but it's quite difficult to actually envisage. And we've had obviously lots of comments about the photographs. Would you like to make that proposal then?
Yes, I'd like to formally propose that. Thank you, Chair.
Formally propose that. Councillor Mackenzie's seconding you. I think lots of other people are as well.
Thank you. Could I also go on to say that I would like the tree officer to be in attendance, because it sounds from the developer that there are ways around avoiding damaging the tree's roots or minimising the damage to the tree's roots. So I think, if we can arrange for the tree officer to be in attendance, that would be good. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, Simon and I are just having a discussion about this, because I understood that within our environment team under Martin Hall, we now have a new person. And you were talking about...
on planning applications.
Okay, but apparently that person doesn't advise on planning applications. So we're dealing with somebody who we share with Ashford. It's all, So I think that's a good idea. And we'll leave it. We'll see what we can do. It's just not one of our employees. We can just say, yeah, we'll definitely do that, but we can definitely think about that. I mean, there is also, the possibility of seeking to amend the application. I mean, we're not there yet, but we haven't seen it. But Councillor Prentice, you wanted to comment.
Thank you. And I do agree with the proposal for a site visit. I think my question was just on this concept of a spice kitchen, and I have to admit I wasn't entirely familiar with the concept of a spice kitchen, but I understand it's like a second kitchen, and I understand why you would have one. But it made me wonder whether that was, you would want a second kitchen because you had you were planning on doing some sort of, more industrial scale cooking, maybe. I don't know. I don't think that is the case, because, that's not something I'm, getting the, I'm not getting the vibe. That's a good word. Yeah. I'm not getting the vibe that is what's proposed. Yeah, it's just that concept of it, really, because most people have one kitchen, I suppose, and I suppose if you are cooking certain sorts of foods, you would have a second room, and that comes with a lot of potentially come with equipment and ventilation and extraction type equipment that causes one to put a question mark over it. So I agree with the site visit. Thank you.
Councillor Smith.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yeah, it was just on the nature of the tree officer. If we could potentially ask them on the basis of perhaps looking at a TPO on that tree, because a 100-year-old walnut tree with a potential lifespan of another couple of 100 years, if it doesn't have one, it has one already. It doesn't. Okay, so perhaps that would be an informative from the tree officer's perspective.
Okay, so we need to take a vote. Sorry, Councillor Thomas.
So I've got a question. Is this in a conservation area or not? Well, surely the TPO don't need a TPO because you can't do it because it's in a conservation area. Am I correct?
Sorry, I live in a conservation area and people still have TPOs as well, because even within that you can ask to cut trees down or move them all.
That's fine, thank you.
So you can have both. Certainly a tree like that. I mean, it sounds amazing, but we need to look at all the details, don't we? So what we need to do is take a vote. I think, is that right? Yeah, we need to take a vote about deferring this for a site visit, and a vote in favour is a vote for the site visit. Okay.
Okay, that's carried. It was unanimous.
Thank you very much, everybody. So we just have to go through some of the final points on the agenda. We've got item 10 is the planning appeals report. And I don't know, Simon doesn't want to make any particular comments. Would anybody like to ask any questions on any of that? No. We don't have any urgent business to be dealt with in public, and we don't have business falling under exempt provisions. The date of the next meeting is a special meeting, 13th of May 2025, and we are closing the meeting at 8:27 or something like that.